What's up, everybody out there in TV land? We got a couple leagues for you today. I'll probably be posting one today, one tomorrow, or the next day after. Either way, getting ready for RCQ season, trying to get our Fair Frog 75 kind of narrowed down. The first league here that we're going to have for you is Esper, which pretty much they're all going to be Esper. I think the sideboard options that White gives you are just incredibly strong right now, and I wouldn't want to leave home without them. But we got our Fair Frog main deck, Psychic Frog, Orcish Bowmaster, Kaito, Quantum Riddler, our unfair element in our pitch spells with force, negation, and subtlety, and a lot of cheap interaction, spell snare, fatal push, thought seize, counterspell to kind of keep us in the game. The game plan for this sort of build is to use our free interaction, use our cheap spells to get down a card advantage engine on an empty board. Our card advantage engines are Psychic Frog, Kaito, Band of Nightmares, Quantum Riddler. Sometimes you'll see like Tameo included in these lists, but you just want to get down a card advantage engine on an empty board. Use that advantage engine to pressure your opponent's life total through attacking, plus drawing cards with either their static abilities, their zeros, whatever the case may be. In the sideboard, we got 3 copies of Harbinger of the Seas, 3 Mystical Disputes, 4 Consigned Memories. Harbingers for like the big mana stuff, Mystical Dispute for the Counterspell Wars, Consigned Memory for Eldrazi. The white sideboard options that, like I said, are so strong right now. 3 copies of Pest Control for Boros, for Affinity, for any go wide token strategy or small permanent strategy. A Stony Silence, additional hate piece specifically for Affinity, which is one of your absolute nightmare matchups. And then Teferi Time Reveler in this league to try out against stuff like Goryo's Vengeance, Jeskai Blink, Esper Blink, other Fair Frog decks, anything to that effect. So let's go ahead and hop into the league and see how we do. I would love to play first. Yeah, if you find the Battle Chads YouTube channel, so this is the Battle Chads page. We did a recording with me, Josh, Sam, and Young Dingo going over our picks, our tier list for the modern format for RCQ season. Going through all the decks, what we ranked them on power level, on how easy they are to pick up. And it's a pretty good video. It's a long video, but I'm really happy to have been a part of it. It's super fun. And some people are going to be very, very depressed at the rankings we gave their decks. I feel a little bit bad, but breeding pool. Is this going to be Simic Ritual to start off my day? Please don't be Simic Ritual. I don't need this in my life. Breeding Pool, Wooded Foothills, go. I think I want to just ninjutsu in Kaito. I really don't have a clue what this is. Make sure I don't accidentally skip through this. But I'm kind of hoping that just like getting Kaito down and holding up subtlety will do a lot. And if this is Simic Ritual, oh, it's Neoform. Okay. Let's look for like Force of Negation. Yeah, we do have a Subtlety, but I would like a little more interaction. Both of those are pretty good. Subtlety is the single best card versus them, TBH. You think Subtlety is better than like Force of Negation? I guess they can't Veil of Summer Subtlety, and that's a big deal. Let's go Thoughtseize. If they Veil of Summer, yep. It's annoying, but it is what it is. I wanted to Thoughtseize before I went for the Kaito Zero, so I can have a little more idea of what I'm looking for. Top, land, go. Now we can Cling to Dust and draw into that Kaito on top, so I have like double Subtlety discard. Allosaurus Rider. Let's start with Cling to Dust just to get all of my options available. We will Subtlety off of Kaito. So I don't need two Kaitos. They got rid of double Eldritch Evolution. So is their hand just like all Neoform effects? So they Veil of Summer to draw back into. This is 5. They Veil of Summer to draw back into the Allosaurus Rider. So the only way this matters, triple Eldritch Evolution, and their hand was 3 Eldritch Evolutions, Neoform, and another Eldritch Evolution / Neoform effect. That is wild. Like, obviously, I had 2 Subtleties, which is also kind of wild, but such a good hand out of them. All right. So this should be a Neoform. Yeah, or that. Nice. All right. Against Neoform, Harbinger, I feel like people criminally underrate Harbinger against Neoform, but a lot of times they aren't on like double basic forest. So you can just like shut off Eldritch Evolution entirely. But you do have to take into account whether or not you think your opponent is on the Oculus Ice Vein Coatl sideboard plan. So is that something that I want to consider at all? Probably not. Probably like make them show that to me before I respect it. Veil of Summer doesn't protect from subtlety target. No, it doesn't. Just says spells can't be countered and your permanents can't be targeted by blue or black sources. But Allosaurus Rider on the stack is a spell, not a permanent. And subtlety is putting it on top or bottom, not countering it. Consign is really bad against Neoform. It's kind of not. Like, it hits Gall to ETB and attracts to ETB. But more importantly, if your opponent fights over your stuff with packs or has to like pack for Allosaurus Rider or Pact of Negation to force through their stuff and go to their turn and they have to consign their pack trigger, you can consign the replicate on their packs. And if they had to use multiple, they could end up just losing the game on the spot. Or they often have to replicate to try to fight through our counter spells, which means that consigning the replicate trigger can allow you to just like 1-for-1 counter their pack trigger or their consign on a pack trigger. And again, just kind of like lose the spot or lose on the spot. So it's got some very relevant text. It's not like your number one game plan, but it's a big deal because it allows you to get a lot of those dead cards out of your deck that aren't doing anything otherwise. Bowmaster in response to this fetch, so they can't like what's it called? Veil of Summer, the Bowmaster trigger. It's Fang just to beat frog type decks. Yeah, they sideboard into like uh Ice Fang Coatl and Abhorrent Oculus to try to play like a fair mid-range post-board game. So they kept the Allosaurus Rider on top. So we know their hand is Allosaurus Rider, unknown. I have to assume one of those unknowns is a Neoform effect. Or I think that's a pretty safe assumption. It's like there's not really much of a reason for them to keep Allosaurus Rider on top if it's just a fair Allosaurus Rider into like a bunch of open mana. I want to get down Harbinger here. I think I do. It shuts off Eldritch Evolution is something my opponent can cast. I'm kind of at a spot where I don't mind cutting off draws from them. Sure. You got it. That doesn't get a basic forest, so. All right. Do I want to just replay the Harbinger again? Yeah. They want to surveil in response. That's fine. Carry on. So Allosaurus Rider, 3 unknowns. Opponent is on a 2-turn clock. Ice Fang Coatl doesn't really matter here because they'd flash it in, then it dies to Bowmaster trigger, and they can't Veil of Summer. This isn't gonna work out the way you want it to. I guess they could consign the trigger if they want, but all they're doing is like trading off with a 1/1. All right, good luck. Good luck, have fun. Allosaurus Rider pitching double Veil of Summer. So what do we want to do to fight over this? I just hard casting Subtlety. Am I counter spell? Let's evoke Subtlety off of Spell Snare. Because we get to play around stuff like this. No response. Yes. All right. So in the video I recorded with Dingo the other day, our metagame breakdown tier list, I made a comment about Neoform because it's on the ranking, and I basically said Demir or Esper mid range, any of the like blue black X Frog variants are effectively the Neo brand player's sleep paralysis demon. Because at the end of the day, we can just kind of like randomly click buttons and cast spells however we want and have a very good chance of winning that match. It's not a complete buy by any stretch of the imagination, but so much of our stuff just lines up like extraordinarily well into them. And it's really difficult to not like set yourself up in an advantageous position just playing the game normally. I've got Neoform really, really, really low on my rankings. There's cards like Orm's Chant that kind of wreck your world right now. High Noon, any counter spells whatsoever. Teferi, Time Reveler, like just a bunch of stuff you don't want to deal with. They're all pretty popular in the format. In Esper, I usually need turn 1 Seas, turn 2 Noon, turn 3 Ashiok to auto win. Like Esper Blink. Yeah, Esper Blink's a bit rougher because like you don't really have counter spells, and being more creature interactive against Neoform can be a liability. But well, if I had a second land, maybe. We'll keep it on the play. I'm not in love with it, but I had a hand like this in the video that I posted today where it's just, all right, I've got Counterspell on the play. I've got Surveils. I wish this Sink into Stupor were like a subtlety or a force of negation, but other than that, it's just kind of get to Kaito. Aaron Mesa. That do get to Kaito. See what opponent has to offer. Storm. Storm, and they bin a Ruby medallion. Are they medallion flooded or sure? I'm not gonna flash in a Bowmaster on this because I don't want them to like follow up with a Ruby or yeah. Yeah, I don't understand that one either. Like maybe the play is trying to bait Bowmasters, which I can kind of understand a little bit, but really just looking for like Force of Negation, Spell Snare. Opponent did put 2 Valakut Awakenings into the graveyard. Not bad. Third Ruby. Ral Monsoon Mage. I could maybe point that at Ral instead, but see if you got a ritual. Don't have a ritual. Do have a land, okay. Manamorphose, but that's not netting positive on mana. You don't have a Rin's Resolve or anything in the yard. Already played land for turn, so can't glimpse. Second Ral. So it would appear that the hand they kept was just like all mana reducers. Both of those are pretty good. I wish I could have both, but I guess I'll do the line that makes you have what, the 5th reducer? Cool. I was going to say 5 reducers in the top 22 would be upsetting. Storm. Not Not really much to board in against Storm. I don't hate like a couple copies of Consigned to Memory because it pulls double duty of being able to go after uh, Ruby Medallion while also potentially hitting a Storm Trigger. Usually, like if they go all in on uh, a Grape Shot turn and they have like free reign to go off, you're probably not going to be able to stop them from killing you with a single Consign, because you can stop like the first Grape Shot, and then if they flash back past In Flames, do it again, then you just die to that. Pest Control is for Empty the Warrens. So if they have like a sideboard Empty the Warrens juke, or if they just go for a fair rollout of like rituals into Wish Empty or something, you want some sort of an out to that in your 75. Plus, Pest Control can be cycled, whereas like EE or something can't. So it's not a completely dead board in. All right, what you got? And you can Pest Control just to take out the tokens off like Glimpse. Keeps the card on top. That's really good for me. I get to EOT, shoot this Ral, untap, Thoughtseize, and Spell Snare. I really, really hope that the 2026 Storm players never like learn or consider the old tech of Apostle's Blessing, because you can play it for free off of your Ral, like your mana reducer, just 2 life. And if they start doing that and like flipping Rals in response to removal spells, because you get a Ral trigger and you get the protection spell, that'd be brutal. So whatever you do, don't tell them that's a thing. Don't give them ideas. Well, I feel like it's pretty bad into most of the common sideboard hate. Um, but obviously it's like really good into us. I'm gonna keep this Quantum Riddler because I don't mind just hitting land drops, holding up interaction, and then eventually getting Quantum Riddler down, try to refill. Okay. For the most part, I'm not a big fan of fighting over stuff like this, but my opponent's hand is like pretty bad, and I've got stuff I do, so I kind of just like don't want to let them improve their hand at all here. But normally I would say like I have no interest in fighting over a draw spell. Orum's Chant. I do need to find like some more lands, or one more land, and I can hard cast this this Quantum Riddler and be pretty happy about it. Sweet. Definitely fighting over that. Do our best to kind of take advantage while our opponent is not doing much of anything. Put the pressure on them to get not alive anymore. Especially while we know their hand is like pretty weak. Oh yeah. Good. Don't care. Don't care. Were both of those subtlety frog? Subtlety frog, bend, second subtlety, second frog, bend, draw third frog. All right. And I'm just counter spelling the first two things they put on the stack here. They're already constrained on mana. There's not really much that they can do, so I might as well just counter the first two mana spells, untap, blah, 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 blah. Nice. Have there been any interesting spoilers today? Let's check them out. What do I think about this on the draw? Last seen 4 days ago on Lockmere Serpent. Oh, snap. Oh, that's hot. Wait. They have no black mana. Am I missing something? There's no fetchable black source anywhere in here. You know what? We'll keep it. If they're on something similar, this hand could be pretty decent. Mainly because has a Kaito, has Bowmasters. Four main deck Wrath of the Skies. Four Consult the Star charts. All right. Well, now I know they're not on the same list because the original list wasn't running Quantum Riddler. So it could just be Jeskai Blink. Not Jeskai Blink. Opponent gets a Cryptic Coat. All right. If you put in a Cauldron, I'm cooked. I said not to do that, opponent. I asked very kindly in the nicest way possible to not do this exact thing. Ugh. I don't think I really have anything to draw to. I might just fetch Shock Thoughtseize for information. Because, like, let's say I Bowmaster this turn instead. I could jump the Germ token. Or no, it's got Trample, so I can't even jump the Germ token. So yeah, we're just going to Thoughtseize for information. What's the Solitude Ephemerate? So I could like Kaito stun down the Germ token next turn. But then they still have Stoneforge Cryptic Coat. So yeah, we'll move along. Feel like we got some good stuff post board. Do I want any number of like Harbinger? Probably not. It looked like they were just straight Azorius. What about Stony Silence? Stop them from being able to bounce the Cryptic Coat. Probably not that good. Maybe look at a couple copies of Consigned to Memory. Kling looks not great against them. Force looked kind of weak. They probably have like Teferis of their own. See what we can learn game 2. I'd be okay with losing to Azorius Stoneblade in 2026. Kind of not on the radar. Land is good. I'm not going to jam Frog here. I feel like there's a good chance they've got a billion copies of like Mystical Dispute or Stern Scolding or Spell Snare or something that just makes it really bad to play out this Frog into open mana. What is this? Like a Felia? I think I will jam Frog out here because I still have Subtlety up. That's fine. Also fine. Guess they could be a Wrath the Skies deck. Stoneforged Mystic. Get the tap out. Put a lot of pressure on this Frog to draw something good. Slightly less pressure on the Frog. Like actual factual, no pressure on the Frog. Touche. Touche. I don't think I would have discarded anything there because, like, both of those cards are pretty good. I can wait and see what happens in discard next turn. Is this hammer time? I don't think it's hammer time. I think it's just, like, fair blue-white Stoneblade. was like game one, they went and got Cryptic Coat and had Cauldra in hand, and like nothing that has indicated any sort of Hammer, Pure Steel Paladin, Urza Saga shenanigans. So I think they're just like blue-white control with the Stoneblade package. Mm. Opponent mulligans to 6. I think I'm going to go with them. This hand's like pretty close. I'm on the draw, and if I just find one other land, I'm kind of off to the races, but the hand has to be a black source. This is better. Throw back the frog. I'm not playing it out on turn 2 anyway. Kept a card on top. That's a really good draw. Now I have an answer to Felia plus like Stoneforge on the stack. I don't have anything I have to ferry in. Bin you. I'd rather have lands and I already have a Riddler. You, I'm going to regrettably keep. All right, so opponent's playing the draw go game. Kind of need more lands to do the same. But missing a land drop this turn doesn't hurt. Or like last turn. If I miss a land drop this turn, I feel pretty bad. Nice. I think I'm just going to flash in. Do I want to flash in Subtlety? Maybe not, because I don't actually have an answer to hardcast Solitude at the moment. I think we'll just discard Fatal Push. I want to go for this Bowmaster, fight pretty heavily over this so I can try to untap and get an uncounterable Kaito down. All right, this is really good for me. Yay, we emptied our hand. Oh, it's more like, yay, we emptied our hand and we get Kaito down. Both of which are pretty good places to be. Carry on. I'm going to fight over this. I still want to like keep emptying. All right. I was going to say, I want to keep emptying my hand for this Riddler. Plus, I get to see like 3 new cards next turn for Kaito. And if they do something like Cryptic, the best thing I could possibly see right now is my opponent letting this counter spell go and then casting a 3 mana Teferi so that I could subtlety off subtlety, untap, warp Riddler, draw 2, maybe play a land or Thoughtseize or whatever, and then like Kaito 0, draw 2 more. And then the game would just be completely over. But yeah, it was Jeskai Stoneforge, or I'm guessing the red was just for prismatic ending. So like Azorius Stoneforge, but there was at least a red source. But I'm assuming there were no other red spells. Or at least I didn't see any. How are Stoneforge Mystics still $27? Good lord, hadn't this thing been reprinted like 4 times and nobody plays it? Did I miss something? This has got to be a commander thing, right? Because like they were down to $16 and then just like skyrocketed in the span of a couple weeks, which would make me think something came out right in this time that made commander players want it. It's like usually I'm pretty good at keeping track of prices, and when something drops really, really hard, if it does something unique, even if it's not like a staple, I'll pick it up. I feel like I don't remember Stoneforge dropping majorly. I mean, clearly it did at some point. All right, we're on the draw. Vlad, what's up? Have you tried the new Grixis Wanshi pile that won the challenge? I'm assuming you just mean like the blue black flash deck splashing for Meltdown Fire Magic. If so, then yeah, I've tried that deck a few times. Well, if you got Goryos, I'm cooked. If you do have Goryos, there's no reason to do it on your own main phase. Now they have Goryos for sure. Oh boy. What's your verdict on it compared to regular blue black? Um, I'm I think the deck is cool. I'm not a fan of it for like large tournament purposes because I don't think you have hands where you can be like the aggressor. And I don't think the deck is good enough to be like the reactor at all times. One of the big reasons that I prefer like these more mid-rangey builds of blue black is because cards like Psychic Frog and Kaito really allow you to be the aggressor um, when it the matchup dictates it, but still have like good tools for being reactive. I don't know why they didn't do this like on my upkeep. They pitch Frog. I guess they wanted the attracts on their turn, but like do that on my upkeep before I have a third land and kind of go crazy off that. I'm on the play. But I don't dislike the flash build. It's just in modern, especially, there's a lot of matchups like at the moment, the Eldrazi decks, like Amulet Titan, um, where even Storm, where you have to have like some amount of aggressive pressure. And I don't like that the flash deck can't have aggressive pressure. Like there are no hands outside of the very, very rare turn two Bowmasters into some list running one of Kaito that let you be aggressive. Whereas the mid-range decks just like I think that the mid-range builds can play a better control game than the flash build can play an aggressive game. I think that's kind of the best way of expressing it. This is Goryo's. That's right. And to me, that's a big deal. Like being able to be the aggressor in some matchups, I just think is like super important. I'm gonna keep this. It's a little sketchy, but I'm on the play. I've got free interaction. I've got a Surveil, and if this finds me a second land, I've got potentially like Bowmaster Kaito. I don't know if I would keep this in like an RC. But just playing for fun in a league, I kind of like trying it out. I didn't play for 4 months. Seems to me that Saga is really oppressive. It's it's not like overly oppressive. Thankfully, there's not, bruh. We hit the land, but at what cost? At what cost? What do we got? Saga is oppressive to exactly one archetype. That's true. It is very oppressive to our one archetype, though. Psychic Frog. So we've got options. Option number 1, push the frog. Which is kind of fine because they already have Atraxa in the yard, so I don't really care about them discarding to this frog. Option number 2 is subtlety the frog and try to hit land and have like subtlety frog, bowmasters, untap land Kaito. I also have to decide if I hit a third land, am I just casting Harbinger? Like, at some point, we have to hit something, whether it be a land or we got Fatal Push. Double attracts in the yard's kind of terrifying. Seti, what's up? Well, we're 3-0, but it's not looking very good this game. For this match. Game 1, our opponent, turn 1, fetch land, putting Atraxa in the yard off their Surveil. Game 2, turn 1, Surveil, hitting Atraxa. And that's put a lot of pressure on our hands. What's the white for? Teferi, Pest Control, Stony Silence. Third land would be nice, but we did keep a 1-lander with a Surveil. Getting the second one was pretty good, but getting this third land's a little problematic. Well, if you've got Thoughtseize plus Goryos, so be it. On the bright side, if they don't cast Goryo, like if they take Counterspell and they don't cast Goryos right here, then I'm assuming they don't have Goryos and I'm not playing around it anymore. But if they take like Harbinger, I'm assuming they don't have Goryos and they're trying to play a fair game. Maybe they have like Teferi Time Reveler. Like, there's no way this is them having a Goryos, right? Because why would you do this instead of just taking Counterspell and casting Goryos? It's a bait. I mean, it's a bait for what? Like, if there was something that they wanted to bait for, they could just take the Counterspell off the Thoughtseize. And I wouldn't have the ability to fight over any bait. Like, all right, let's see if you hit the Goryos. They do hit the Goryos. All right. Let's move on with our day. You assume your opponent is playing optimally? Well, if you don't assume your opponent's playing optimally, you're going to lose to them playing optimally. So I would rather assume they're playing optimally and lose to them playing suboptimally. Or just lose to no third land drop. Sounds like you lose either way. Well, maybe I could have mulliganed and saved that game. I did mention before we started that game that I probably would not keep that 7-card hand at like an actual event, but I think it's worthwhile for science. Give it a shot, see how it does. I'm 22 lands. Yeah. Okay. I'm going to throw this hand back because 2 reasons. One, I think it's a trap because I need pressure. And 2, this hand does like nothing into a lot of decks. So I would rather keep a 7 with like Frog if I'm going to risk doing nothing. 6-card hand, I'm a little more locked into having to keep, but I don't like either of these first 2 hands. Opponent is going down to 5. We'll see if we don't get punished for our mulligan decision. Hallowed Fountain. Well, that makes my keep of double Fatal Push feel worse. Better. All right, you got nothing. It's not nothing. It's just Esper Blink. Looks like it. Esper Blink's another deck that's like pretty low on my ratings at the moment because I think that everything Esper Blink does, Jeskai Blink just does better. So, for example, like if you're wanting to beat up on the creature decks, just being like Solitude, Flage, Arena of Glory is a lot better. If you want to have game into the unfair matchups, then like being able to Arena Flage, I think is better than Thoughtseize. Just getting your opponent dead is a big deal. Well, that's unfortunate. I guess I'll just go ahead and put Subtlety out there. See if you want to spend a Teferi bounce on it. Oh, it's Goryo's again. Never mind. All previous statements have gone out the window. What you got? That's good for me. If you draw the fourth push, you win the game. That checks out. All right. Fairies down. Do I want to go ahead and cling to dust this Faithful Mending? Okay. What's the link to the podcast you guys start on? Let's grab it real quick. On the Battle Chads YouTube page, here is the link. Good draw. It's going to go for attacking in with the subtlety first. If opponent wants to like respond with eating some stuff or discarding to fly the frog, I can respond to that with fatal push. Then I'll go to their upkeep and fatal push on the frog. So if they have ephemerate, they don't get to attack with it. Sure. Fatal push part 2, electric boogaloo. Need to add some additional RCQ studying to properly curate my sideboard. That's fair. I will say, if you're expecting the episode to be all saying nice things about people's decks, you're gonna be very, very sorely mistaken. I don't even think I said a whole bunch of nice things about Frog. Don't think there's a reason for me to flash in subtlety here. It doesn't actually change the clock at all. I still have to hit this turn and then hit again next turn. Nice. Yeah, crazy how the matchup gets a lot better when your opponent doesn't entomb their Atraxes on turn 1. I'm just gonna not bring in Consign. Titanless Titan. You said it was a Springheart Nantuko build. Is that right? All right, so this is a 2-lander that could become a 1-lander really quick to a Thoughtseize. Nice. Cub, Spring Heart, and Leyline of Abundance. Oh boy. Leyline of Abundance. We out here digging through the barrels for modern playables. I'd rather land than another Another counter spell. See what you got going on. Trying to fix the sideboard for my local meta. If I chicken out, I'll play Esper Reanimator. Esper Reanimator's pretty good. Teferino, Mystical Dispute. I think I'm just going to take the Dispute so there's a better chance that my counters resolve. I don't want them to go like Surveil, 4th land to the top, land, pass, and then Teferi next turn with Dispute back up. Son of a... What is my luck against Atraxa today? What are we tanking on? Land? Sweet. Put that second Teferi on the stack. Quantum Riddler. Is it possible to play Moto on a Mac? You can. You have to go through the process of like setting up a hard drive partition so that you can run a run a second boot option on your hard drive with Windows. I did it on my old MacBook, but it's been years. But there's a native program called Boot Camp on Mac that you can use to like set up a second partition. Yeah, you could use Virtual Machine too. I like the I personally like the secondary boot option because it doesn't throttle you. See if they're going to go for like, they're just not going to rebound. That's fair. Is it reversible to partition off a separate drive? Yeah, it's reversible. Well, that's unfortunate. I maybe should have just let the prismatic ending go, since Bowmaster didn't matter too much. But wasn't really thinking they were going to hit removal and Goryos. I will say it's felt very funny that in these 4 games against Goryos, all 3 game losses have been due to opponent surveilling over an Atraxa. Almost like they knew what to play around. Nah, I don't think they're sniping. Ivanolo, thanks so much for the follow. Hope you're having an awesome afternoon. Appreciate you coming around and hanging out. But no, the 3 game losses have just been like 2 of them have been mana trouble, whatever. But surveilling over Atraxas has just put a lot of pressure on. What is going on today? What? Is there like a Moto update I don't know about? That's 4 out of 5 games my Goryo's opponent has surveilled over an Atraxa with their first surveil. Because you're not on the DB account. True. Facts are facts. How's that even remotely close to being possible? It's the same thing with that flipping all of the turn 1 Ragavans. Like, I don't know what to tell you. It just happens to me sometimes. All right, what am I taking out of this? I could take Quantum Riddler. Yeah, I think I just take the Riddler. Take best card. Turn 1 Ragavan still so nasty. Yeah, but turn 1 Ragavan like 6 games in a row is abysmal. They're not going to go for the EOT Faithful Mending. That's nice of them. I think I'm just going to fight over this. Their hand kind of sucks. My hand kind of sucks. But I've got to cling to dust. Like, eventually I'll find a Kaito or something, right? I swear to God, if you discard an Atrax at a hand size, I'm going to cry. Solitude off Solitude. Sure. That is A-okay with me. I thought they were going to have another Faithful Mending there. Can we get a Kaito off the top one time for the boys? It's almost a Kaito. I'm going to have to start working through these mystical disputes at some point. I knew. I knew if I just believed. If you just believe. I was about to say, if you do something to this token, if you like fatal push this token, I'm calling stream sniping shenanigans. I kind of want to just mystical dispute this. They didn't leave up blue for their own mystical dispute. Goryo's. Psychic Frog mystical dispute. Mistaken coming in with a raid. Thank you, thank you. Welcome, everybody. Hope you had an awesome stream. I can stun down the frog with Kaito, but I can't stop it from discarding. Still think I'm just taking the frog. They have a Goryo's target in the graveyard? No, they don't. But they do have the Faithful Mending. So if they find a Goryo's, they've got something to do. Or if they find the Goryo's target. Take a frog, top deck a frog. Fair. Stun down you. Riddler, see what's going on. Pass it back. We got Cling to Dust up with Force Negation. Wiretap, thank you so much for the follow. Hope you're having an awesome afternoon. Appreciate you coming around and hanging out. For everybody that came over from the Mistaken Raid, hope y'all are doing well. If it's a first time here, my name is Michael, Control Freak on Magic Online. Play a lot of Blue, Black, X, Psychic Frog, mid-range decks. So this is on their own main phase. And I'll just let this go. I do have to be like a little bit careful because the Psychic Frog free discard is extremely relevant. They got rid of Goryo's and Mystical Dispute. Don't know how much I like that. Let's take up Kaito, attack in, and I'll just play a frog and pass. That way I've got Kaito stun next turn. I've got Cling to Dust. Got Force Negation. They discarded the Mystical Dispute I knew about. They might have another one. Not going to respond to that. Will respond to that. It's pretty decent. So now, am I more interested in Shieldred's Edict on this frog? I think yes. Fair enough. Shieldred's Edict there because if they have like an Atraxa in hand, they have to discard in response to the Shieldred's Edict, which means it's known information into my Cling to Dust that I can escape still. So I would know if I can commit anything else to the board, but I'm probably just Shieldred's Edict, attack with Kaito, 0, try to find like Thought Seize, another Cling to Dust, counter spell, something like that. And pass the turn to them with 2 pieces of interaction up and no board on their side and see what I can do. But 4-1, not a bad league. We beat Storm, we beat Neoform, we beat 1 Goryo's, we lost to a 2nd Goryo's, and what was the 5th match? Oh, Azorius Stoneblade was the 5th one. So, not a bad league. Overall, I'm fairly happy with like where this list is. The only things I'm still uncertain about, this Teferi slot we basically played because someone asked if we were playing Teferi today. We never cast it. It never did anything. Never did anything, but we did see multiple Goryos, which is a good Teferi matchup. We didn't see any affinity, or Boros. It's like all 4 of these slots were kind of dead. Harbingers, mostly for big mana, more so than it is greedy mana bases. We didn't see any big mana. But all this stuff was good. Do you think Subtlety is good right now? I think it's pretty meh. I've never thought Subtlety was good, but I think Subtlety is necessary for this game plan. So to get into why I think Subtlety is good comes down to what I think that this list is trying to accomplish. This list is trying to get card advantage engine down on an empty board as often as humanly possible. Card advantage engine down, protect the card advantage engine, empty board as often as possible. So you're running more Kaitos, more Psychic, or you're always running Psychic Frogs, but you're on like Riddler, Kaito, Psychic Frog as your card advantage engines, and you're maxing out on subtleties, plus a bunch of forces to try to cast those free spells as early and often as possible so that you can get something down to start pressuring your opponent, use the cards that you get off of it to close out the game. So you're still a really good counterspell deck, but the goal, again, is to keep the board clear on like turn 1, 2, and 3. So you're more in on Thought Seizes, Fatal Pushes, Bowmasters, Subtlety, whatnot, Spell Snare, just to keep stuff off the board in the first 2 turns so that you can get one of these things down or use up all your hand and start warping Quantum Riddlers. But that's kind of in contrast to like the Flash build that's trying to use up a lot of these spells and then refill their hands with Consult the Star Charts or Wan Shi Tong, which is fine, but I want my card advantage engine on the battlefield sooner and attacking so that you have more aggressively slanted draws. Where I think the Flash deck wants to survive, trade 1 for 1, and then the last thing you do be a big card advantage engine to refill your hand. I just don't like that deck doesn't have like any aggressively directed draws against some of the unfair decks. But either way, I think we're going to run it back. Are there any changes that we want to make? Because like ultimately I thought it went pretty well. The one match we lost, the Goryo's opponent just like turn 1 entombed Atraxa twice. And that's going to happen some amount of the times.